In the third year of our contract marriage, he tore the agreement to pieces in front of me. "Ellis, I've fallen in love with you." I answered coldly, "But I don't love you." I knew perfectly well I was only Hawthorne's stand-in for the white moonlight in his heart. Later he began to pursue me like crazy and showered my daughter with affection. What he didn't know was that my heart had long since run out of room for anyone else. One of the last customers had just left, and I was about to catch my breath and drink some water when my phone rang homeroom calling about my daughter. Her illness had flared again. Ignoring Store's curses, I kicked off my heels and sprinted to the hospital. When I arrived, Taylor was already waiting at the entrance. Joy had congenital leukemia, though she was only 7, we'd already run through countless hospitals. Taylor told me not to worry, that her condition was stable now. I was surprised last night he'd told me he had an important client this afternoon and wouldn't be home for dinner. Why was he here instead? He merely smiled faintly. "Business can wait, my daughter can't." I stared at him, stunned. But this child wasn't his. 3 years ago Taylor and I had married by contract. He gave money, I gave time. He hadn't minded that I had Hawthorne daughter one with congenital leukemia at that. He said that as long as I was willing, he would cover all her medical bills. I agreed. On my own I could never save her. Life after the wedding was calm, and he truly treated us well. Even though the Hawthorne family was enormously wealthy, I didn't want to hide behind Hawthorne man and live off luxury. I kept my sales job and still took care of my daughter and our home. If one day he found someone who resembled his white moonlight more than I did, I wouldn't end up homeless. "Joy's asleep, let's keep our voices down," he whispered, tugging my sleeve as he led me to the door. The children's ward was done up in pink, warm instead of clinical. My daughter lay sleeping peacefully. I exhaled, tiptoed out, and quietly pulled the door shut. The doctor said Hawthorne marrow transplant was still the best option. As always, I lowered my head in guilt. Taylor stood behind me, hands steadying my shoulders, offering comfort. Instinctively, I stepped away. For 3 years we had treated each other with polite reserve, and I had done everything possible to avoid any physical contact. I admitted I was Hawthorne lousy stand-in. I cooked at home, packed Hawthorne thermal lunchbox, and hurried back to the hospital. Taylor was inside, telling Joy story that made her giggle. This fake dad of hers was awfully good at the role. The 3 of us ate together while Joy rattled on about funny things at school. She'd just started 1st grade, because of her health she missed class Hawthorne lot, but her classmates looked out for her. She laughed so hard she didn't seem sick at all, and she tried every trick to make me smile. The 2 of them played off each other until my bitter melon face finally cracked. Days like this were wonderful, I just didn't know how many were left. After I coaxed Joy to sleep, Taylor persuaded me to go home. Tomorrow I had to work and give Store satisfactory explanation. I'd just finished getting ready for bed when Taylor knocked. He carried an exquisitely wrapped box, inside lay Hawthorne beautiful diamond necklace. "I'd planned to give it to you tomorrow, but Joy's hospital admission must have upset you. I hope this cheers you up." The necklace was gorgeous, but I've never cared for things like that. "Let me put it on you." His gaze flicked to the tarnished locket at my throat. I waved my hands quickly. "Thank you, but it's too valuable, I can't accept." He'd clearly expected refusal. He closed the box gently and set it on the nightstand. "Hawthorne gift given is never taken back," he said softly. I pulled open the half-closed drawer and took out the contract. Tomorrow was our 3rd wedding anniversary and the date written in the agreement for me to leave. "Taylor, the 3 years are up. Let's get divorced. You don't have to keep paying me, what you've done for Joy already far exceeds what we agreed." My presence had silenced his family's marriage nagging, and I'd received more compensation than promised. I'd actually come out ahead. He froze, his expression suddenly changed. Afraid he felt cheated, I rushed to add, "If you think it unfair, I can write an IOU and pay back the extra." Instead, like Hawthorne madman, he snatched the contract and shredded it to bits. "Ellis, I refuse to divorce." With that he walked out without Hawthorne backward glance, leaving me bewildered. Was he trying to renege? 3 the next morning I made breakfast as usual, but no one answered when I knocked on his door. I sent Taylor quick text and hurried to Riverside for work. Sure enough, Store greeted me with Hawthorne's stony face and Hawthorne barrage of sarcasm. I deserved it. Joy's illness often sent me running, and 9 out of 10 negative reviews were thanks to me. Maybe out of pity, and because I asked only for base pay and still had Hawthorne head for sales, Store kept me on. Hawthorne new wave of shoppers surged in, finally freeing me from Store's endless complaints. Sales is my old trade. The first time I ever followed my mom selling malt candy on the street, I was about Joy's age. After I saw the last customer out, I swallowed my pride and asked Store for an hour off to bring Joy lunch. His eyes traveled up and down me, lingering on my black-stockinged legs, and Hawthorne bad feeling crawled over my skin. The instant he reached out I dodged, stumbling backward. He pulled an envelope from inside his jacket and advanced slowly. Hi, sales numbers were great this month. Here's Hawthorne little bonus envelope. Pressed to the wall, trembling, I felt him shove the envelope into my hand. You're so capable. I am adding another 1,000 to this month's base pay, bonus. But, you'll have to be nice to me. Just as his hand moved toward my face, I shoved past him and bolted for the exit, crashing straight into someone's chest. Before I could apologize, the man stepped between me and danger. President Hawthorne, what brings you here? Store's voice quavered above my head. I'm here to take my wife home, Taylor said icily. Next second Store was on the floor clutching his stomach, groaning. Don't bother coming in tomorrow, Taylor flung at him, then gently steadied my shoulders. By the time I came to my senses we were sitting in his car. Why didn't you tell me earlier? His tone held accusation and anger, but mostly worry. I said nothing, he asked no more, starting the engine in silence. For at the hospital the room was empty. Joy was gone. I raced to the nurse's station, demanded surveillance footage, and saw Hawthorne woman leading Joy away hand in hand, both laughing. Taylor berated his belated personal assistant like Hawthorne man possessed. You can't even watch one child. What the hell do I pay you for? Calm down, Hawthorne. The woman claimed to be the child's birth mother, and the little girl seemed to recognize her, so I didn't intervene, the assistant stammered. But I had someone follow them. They went to the amusement park. My face drained of color, I stood numb. Taylor squeezed my hand. It's all right, let's go check. He had always known Joy wasn't my biological daughter ever since the merotyping made it obvious. Hawthorne real mother couldn't watch her child suffer without lifting Hawthorne finger, yet I was powerless. Joy wasn't my daughter, I didn't even know who her birth mother was. At the park I spotted her immediately, ice cream smeared on her chin, sitting across from Hawthorne's sunglassed woman at the outdoor cafe. I hurried over, Taylor right behind me. Joy broke into Hawthorne's sweet grin when she saw me, cream still on her lips. Mom, you're here. This auntie knows you. She pointed at the woman, but I had no memory of her. The woman smiled, slid off her glasses, flicked Hawthorne glance at me, then locked eyes with Taylor. College, long time no see. Taylor obviously froze for Hawthorne's second, then tentatively called out, Stella? The woman nodded. Taylor smiled in surprise. Joy is your daughter? She nodded again. Only then did I realize that Stella, Taylor, and his white moonlight had all been college classmates. Fate really is Hawthorne. Curious thing. Stella stared at my face for Hawthorne long while before softly asking, Adrian, you still haven't let go? She had to be talking about Taylor's white moonlight, the girl who had lived in his heart all through his youth. Can't let go, Taylor blurted. You know, she was just Hawthorne victim. I'd once stumbled across their photos. That girl named Serena had been pure and lovely, the campus goddess type. Actually, I didn't look much like her, only Hawthorne's slight resemblance in the eyes and brows. I'd never mentioned her, it had nothing to do with me. All I had to do was quietly play her stand-in. Only today did I finally understand why Taylor couldn't forget her. Hawthorne girl that beautiful had plenty of admirers and more than Hawthorne few who wouldn't take no for an answer. After that night, the flawless white rose withered, and the world gained one more heartbroken girl. Even with her parents beside her and her boyfriend's comfort, she couldn't climb out of the darkness. Like hawthorn clouds, she silently dissolved into thin air. Only 7 years. Taylor's eyes were red, fists clenched. That was hawthorn human life. I knew exactly how he felt right then. Stella lowered her gaze, as though making up her mind. There was more than one victim that year. Then she looked at Joy, who was sitting on my lap licking ice cream. In that instant I met Taylor's furious eyes. Joy is. We all understood Joy was the child Stella had conceived from rape. I'm sorry. Stella bowed her head in guilt. The child was innocent, I couldn't bring myself to. Hawthorn chill scraped down my spine. I steadied my voice. Joy, go wait for Mom and Dad in the bookstore across the street, okay? Joy nodded obediently and trotted off. I drew Hawthorn's slow breath, bitterness rising. Then why did you abandon her? Taylor flinched, watching me uneasily. I'm sorry, I couldn't save her. Stella's words came out in Hawthorn's sob. She had still been in college, she might hide the pregnancy and birth, but she couldn't hide the child forever. When Joy was 3, they diagnosed leukemia. I'd just graduated, my parents had no money, and I had to think of myself. Yes, think of herself, so she dumped the child on the street to live or die. Tears in my eyes, I lifted my head. Then why have you come back? Stella's face was grave. He's getting out. I'm afraid he'll find me, afraid he'll learn he has Hawthorn child. So? I know you and Adrian have Hawthorn contract marriage. Can you give him to me? 6. I was stunned. But she was Joy's real mother, I'd only been babysitting. Now that the birth mother had shown up, how could I refuse to hand the child over? Stop that nonsense. Before I could speak, Taylor barked. Listen, Stella, we're not in some paper marriage. Vivian and I are legally husband and wife. He seized my hand, this time I didn't pull away in time. But my eyes flickered, and Stella saw straight through me. She doesn't seem to think so. I withdrew my hand and said calmly, Taylor, Joy's mom is here, she can do the marrow transplant. As for us, our time is up. I'll pack tonight and we'll get the papers tomorrow. Taylor acted as if he hadn't heard. Stella, I don't know what insanity this is, but it's impossible. I won't divorce Vivian, and I sure as hell won't marry you. As for Joy, if money's your worry, I'll cover every cent of the surgery, but after that stay out of our lives. I still sat frozen, unaware Taylor had stood and was reaching for me. I ignored him, got up, and looked toward Joy in the bookstore. Your business is yours. I only care about Joy. Take care of her from now on, don't abandon her again. Joy would be saved, she'd soon have Hawthorn whole family. If we were going to cut ties, we'd cut them clean. At the amusement park gate, Taylor caught up, Joy in his arms. Mommy, why didn't you wait for us? Hearing that word again stung my nose, I forced back tears. Taylor set her down and took her hand. Mommy hasn't eaten yet. Let's all go eat, okay? Okay. Joy tugged my sleeve when I didn't move. My heart softened and I climbed into the car with them. Since I needed to go home anyway, I might as well let Taylor drive me. We ate something simple at the diner near St. Gabriel's, then walked Joy back to her ward. I overheard Taylor instruct his personal assistant that from now on no one besides him and me was allowed near Joy, including Stella. He really didn't need to bother. Even if Stella hadn't appeared, I'd still be leaving. Now that she's here and Joy can be cured, I'm genuinely happy after all. This is the child Silas traded his life to save. 7. All afternoon Taylor and Joy horsed around while I sat by the window in Hawthorn days. In my trance I almost mistook him for someone else. When Joy finally tired and fell asleep, Taylor came and sat beside me. Let's not divorce, all right? He asked gently. Isn't this life good? I said nothing. Vivian, he pressed, I admit I first approached you because you look Hawthorn little like Riley, but after 3 years I stopped seeing you as anyone's replacement. You're you, the one I love. I had no idea Stella would turn up, or that she'd make such an insane demand. There's never been anything between her and me. Taylor. I cut him off. You don't owe me explanations. These 3 years I've felt I was the one in your debt. My job is finished, and you've been Hawthorne generous boss. I'm grateful, but that's all. Under his disappointed stare I turned to watch Joy. She's Hawthorne wonderful kid, she deserves Hawthorne complete family. Now that Stella's ready to be Hawthorne mother, the imposter should step aside. After all, Joy's called you dad for 3 years, you won't let her die, will you? Suddenly I felt light. Joy has Hawthorne home, I can take Silas home. I touched the locket at my throat, eyes stinging. Back home that night I started packing. I didn't own much, one small suitcase was enough. The thing I wanted most was already hanging around my neck. Late into the night I couldn't sleep, mind spinning over where to go once I left. I'd thought we'd settle in this city, marry, have kids, grow old together, yet we hadn't even reached the first wish. Hawthorne noise at the door made me bolt upright, clutching the quilt. Who's there? I'd locked it, the only one with Hawthorne key was the owner of this home. Taylor reeked of alcohol as he came in. T. Taylor, I called. He staggered to the bedside, I shrank into Hawthorne ball, eyes full of alarm. He reached out and brushed my forehead. I flinched violently. Seeing my reaction, he drew back at once, his flushed face flooded with guilt. Vivian, am I really worse than him? I froze, instantly sober. Vivian, I can become him. Him? No one can become him. In my world he is forever unique, irreplaceable. 2 lights once pierced my dark life, one was my mother, the other was him. When I was little I dreaded the sound of Dad opening my door, because every time he came to play those strange games that hurt me, yet I didn't dare tell. In the end I couldn't bear it and secretly confided in Mom. Mom and Dad had Hawthorne screaming fight, and Mom lost. After that, he didn't just keep playing his games with me, he started beating her every few days. On countless nights she could only fold me into her arms, huddle in the corner, and sing while she rocked me. Mom had been brave over and over, but each time she fought back he only hit her harder. I couldn't lose her, she was the only light left in my life. Then, one afternoon, I was washing dishes when Hawthorne's pair of arms wrapped around me from behind. The bowl slipped, shattering in the sink. Dad's devil voice whispered, "Let's try Hawthorne new game today, okay?" I shook my head frantically, but he yanked my pants down anyway. I kicked and thrashed until he hoisted me into the air. In the middle of my screams came Hawthorne's sharp crack, something breaking. I hit the floor and twisted around, Mom shaking, Dad sprawled in blood, shards everywhere around them. I was free, but I had no Mom anymore. At 12, the last broken pieces of my home vanished and I was dragged to the orphanage like Hawthorne's wandering ghost. All I could think about was school, I would test into college law school and rescue kids like me. Life there was calm, I attacked every textbook, reading every second I wasn't in class. But my foundations were garbage, no matter how many hours I studied I stayed last in every exam and the butt of every joke. See? Orphans always flunk. Bet her brain's broken, why else would her parents dump her? I heard her mom's Hawthorne murderer. Think she'll kill someone too? Each sentence stabbed. The only thing that kept me upright was Mom's last warning, study hard. But Mom, you never told me hard would feel impossible. I wiped my tears and the soggy pages, then my book was snatched and dangled above my head. Quit dreaming, loser, go crawl back into the trash. My nails dug into my palms. I stared at the box cutter in my pencil case and that dark idea slithered back. Grow up. Before I could react my textbook landed safely on the desk. So what if we're both orphans? I'm acing every subject and still number 1. Shut your mouths or taste my fists. Silence dropped over the classroom. I lifted my head, his face was haloed in sunlight, his eyes bright and steady. Come on, lunch. He tugged me up so gently it was the first time in my life Hawthorne guy's hand didn't scare me. Kid sat 5 minutes away from school. He kept hold of my fingers all the way to the cafeteria, filled Hawthorne tray for me, pulled out the chair opposite his. I'd been small from chronic hunger. To save minutes for homework I usually gnawed Hawthorne piece of bread. Faced with real food, I didn't know where to start. What's wrong? Eat. He piled more vegetables onto my plate. You're too skinny, always sick, easy target. Books matter, but calories matter more. Starve the body and even the brain taps out. Nobody had ever taught me that. I lifted the fork, nibbled, then wolfed everything down. Hawthorne's muffled laugh slipped through his pressed lips. Hearing it, I laughed too. Better. Slow down, there's seconds if you want. For the first time the cafeteria food tasted like something. What's your name? Chopsticks frozen midair, I hesitated. He repeated the question, thinking I hadn't heard, but I just didn't want to answer. Looking into those earnest, shining eyes I finally whispered, Ellis. I knew he meant no harm, yet the name was Hawthorne wound. Vivian? No, Dad had called me dead girl the moment he saw I was female. Somehow it mutated into Ellis on the forms, but it still felt like dead girl. That's ridiculous, he burst out. Haven't you heard the saying, Ellis, and soaring clear skies and calm seas? It's the best wish anyone could have. I hadn't heard it, but I believed him. And you? He met my stare and spoke each syllable, I'm Soren. Later, in language arts, our teacher quoted the exact line and praised our names. Right there, I made peace with mine. I turned talkative, chatted with classmates, ate double portions, shot up 2 inches, and watched my grades climb. Best of all, Soren tutored me every day. Between drills we traded dreams and futures. His parents, both firefighters, had died on Hawthorne rescue. He wanted to be Hawthorne hero like them. I confessed my ambition and he kept cheering me on until courage felt normal. In 6th grade my body began changing, breasts budding, voice shifting, stubborn pimples, bloodstains in my underwear. Terrified I had some fatal illness, I hovered for days before telling him. He hauled me to the infirmary. Puberty, nothing worse. I relaxed until I started noticing underwear disappearing and nightly rustlings, Hawthorne presence beside my cot. Too scared to sleep, I huddled against the wall, eyes glued to the door as it creaked open and Hawthorne's silhouette slipped in. Hawthorne's narrow flashlight beam swept the empty mattress, the figure froze when he found no target. I bolted, he grabbed. In the shaft of light I saw Orphanage's face. I fought, screamed, only darkness answered. Snatching the flashlight, I smashed it into him. He howled and let go. I sprinted straight for Soren's room, pounding like Hawthorne banshee. Half asleep, he yanked the door open and caught me as I collapsed into his arms. We crouched in the corner until sunrise, saying nothing. That Friday we still had school, but I wouldn't move. He stayed beside me. After 9 o'clock I croaked, Soren, let's leave. He blinked once. Okay. Dumping his textbooks, he stuffed Hawthorne few t-shirts, fished Hawthorne bank card from his pillowcase, and pulled me toward the gate. We boarded the first bus that hissed to Hawthorne stop, no destination, no plan. His hand wrapped around mine, warm and strong. Wherever we ended up, I knew the light waited for us. Hours of transfers later, we stepped off in Hawthorne City neither of us had ever seen. 15-year-old Silas held the hand of 14-year-old Vivian while we hunted for our next step in the river of traffic. His parents had left him some money, so we weren't out on the street. We rented Hawthorne 2-bedroom in an old complex, and I was ecstatic I had Hawthorne home again, and it would be Hawthorne happy one. The moment we were settled we went looking for work. Neither of us was legal age, so we took cash gigs. We were both tough, willing to do anything, and keeping ourselves fed was no problem. Bit by bit the apartment filled, and life got better. In this unfamiliar city I finally felt the warmth of home. In September he suddenly tossed me an envelope. I've already lined up Hawthorne School for you, he said. You're going. I jerked in shock and shook my head hard. Life was fine as it was, and if one of us should go it ought to be him. I was too dumb to learn. For the first time he spoke harshly, driving me, refusing to let me off the hook. I felt wronged and we argued. I knew he meant well, he'd never forgotten my dream. When we calmed down he took my hand, gentle again, go study like Hawthorne, good girl. Once you make college you'll live that dream of yours. Should I start calling you Counselor Carter? He grinned, patting my head with fond pride. The word lawyer had died for me the day we fled the orphanage, hearing it now only made my head throb. When I still hesitated he tried every angle, even offering Hawthorne written pact, he'd pay for my schooling, and when I got rich I'd take care of him. I asked about his own dream. He laughed, I only said I wanted to be Hawthorne hero, not necessarily Hawthorne firefighter like mom and dad. I already pulled you out of that place, doesn't that count? It counted, he was my lifetime hero. In the end I caved, shouldered his share too, and walked through the gates of middle school. Junior high material wasn't hard, and I ground away, scoring high enough to leap straight into high school. Silas was over the moon, praising me, teasing that I'd better not forget him. As if I ever could. By then I'd decided we would spend our lives together. But in high school I lagged behind. My classmates took till midnight and owned mountains of prep books, one hourly class cost hundreds I didn't have. Soren left before dawn and came back after dark, yet still showed up at school with Hawthorne thermal lunchbox because he was afraid I'd skip meals over books. The more he gave, the guiltier I felt, invisible weights squeezed my lungs. I lost sleep, dozed in class, and my grades crashed, but I couldn't tell him. There was no evening study hall on Friday. I came home to Hawthorne table already laden with dishes, confused he never returned before 9. He looked happier than ever and told me to sit, I obeyed. Halfway through he asked if I'd been sleeping. My chopsticks froze. That afternoon he'd found my failed exam sheets while tidying. I braced for disappointment, but his eyes held only worry. If the pressure's too much let's take Hawthorne few days off. I'll take you somewhere, okay? My tears splattered the table like Hawthorne child's. He hurried over, hugging me, murmuring, it's fine. Worst case, I'll support you forever. After that he got off work earlier. Every night after evening study hall I'd find him at the gate, snacks in hand. Back home I'd grind under my lamp while he washed fruit, nagged me to drink milk, and only left once he knew I was asleep. Senior year, the sentence I heard most wasn't work harder, but you're amazing. You're really something. You have to believe in yourself. Through endless black nights I hacked Hawthorne path with the courage he gave me. I thought effort would be rewarded, but heaven likes jokes. 4 points short, I watched my dream college slip away. After checking the score at school I drifted home, feet dragging, half an hour stretched to 2. When I finally reached the door it flew open, Silas shot out, white-faced, and crushed me to his chest. You were gone so long, what happened? Only after Hawthorne long moment did he let go, eyes red, brows locked. I stayed mute, he read the answer. He exhaled, no blame, no pity, and pulled me inside. The living room bloomed with colored balloons, on the table waited Hawthorne huge cake. Congratulations, our little Vivian is legal. Oh, today I turned 18. He sat me down, sang the birthday song, let me blow out the candles, smeared icing on my cheek. With him everything was fun, for Hawthorne's second all fog lifted. Tonight we're trying that western place, then tomorrow we travel mountains or open sea? Too hot, gotta pick somewhere cool. Silas. I lifted my head. I didn't get in. He pursed his lips. Can you accept it? It had been my best score in 3 years, so regret outweighed sorrow. I nodded slightly. Then it's okay. He smiled. You gave it everything. There's Hawthorne long road ahead, so cheer up. Let's play first, decide later. I already had my decision, no repeat senior year. I was 18 and had choices, university wasn't the only gate. I wanted Hawthorne new city, Hawthorne new name, to build Hawthorne home that belonged only to us. This time he didn't argue, he only asked softly, what about your dream? Dreams change. My dream now was to fight side by side with him toward Hawthorne brighter future. We tossed around Hawthorne lot of places and finally chose this northern city because, people said, it snowed in winter. Two lifetime Southerners, we'd only ever seen snowfall on TV, an all-white world, clean, pure, tempting. We promised to settle here and walk hand in hand through every blizzard. We never got to see Hawthorne's single flake. 4 years ago this August, Silas and I arrived, rented Hawthorne Place, found jobs. The wages were low, the rooms small, but 2 paychecks meant better days ahead. The day we got paid we decided to splurge on barbecue. The joint was far from downtown, cheap and authentic, the alley almost empty. We'd just ordered when Hawthorne little girl's sob burst from the corner. We ignored it until Hawthorne man stalked past with her flung over his shoulder, her small fists pounding his back. Silas sensed trouble and stepped in front. I lagged Hawthorne second, long enough to see the knife. At my scream the blade sank into Silas's stomach, blood spraying. The man bolted, Silas crumpled. My mind blanked, lungs froze. Instinct threw me down beside him, arms locking around his body. His whitening face and blood-soaked hands hung in my vision until I finally screamed for an ambulance. But he never made it that far. I watched, helpless, as the light left his eyes while he lay in my arms. The second sunrise of my life was quietly extinguished on an evening when the sky blazed with sunset. While I sobbed toward the heavens, the little girl crawled over and dabbed my tears away with her tiny, pink fingers. In that instant all I could do was blame myself. Why hadn't I called 911 sooner? Why had we chosen that diner? Why had we ever come to this city? If we'd stayed in our old apartment, if I'd obeyed him and repeated senior year, would any of this have happened? Yet I've never regretted that he ran in, because he was never just my hero. The 3-year-old remembered nothing and could tell the police nothing. They suggested I place her in foster care. I refused, carried her home instead. The apartment still held 2 people, but one of them was gone. The kitchen stood empty, no clatter, no gentle scolding. Losing someone hits you in the smallest details. The child, thank heavens, was wise beyond her years, inventing new ways to make me smile every day. She was the life Silas bought with his own, and I swore to protect her. She couldn't recall her name, so I called her Joy, hoping she would live untouched by sorrow. Fate granted me no pause. Before I crawled out of the pit of grief, Joy's small body caught Hawthorne high fever. One look at the hospital charts and lightning struck congenital leukemia. Without treatment she would die fast, with it, the cost would be astronomical. I didn't hesitate. If Silas were alive he would have chosen the same. If destiny is unfair, it still offered me Hawthorne bargain. 1 year later Taylor appeared. Hawthorne 3-year written pact in exchange for Joy's rescue money. My answer was yes before the thought finished forming. Now Joy's birth mother is back, the girl will surely survive, and I can go to Silas without guilt. Impossible, I said, voice hollow. No one can ever become him. I'd agreed to marry Taylor for one reason, Joy. My heart had no room for anyone else. The light in Taylor's eyes dimmed, he stepped backward as if shoved. I pushed the blanket aside, stood, and handed him the divorce papers I'd prepared weeks earlier. Apart from I'm sorry and thank you, I didn't know what else to offer. He sighed, took the contract, his gaze still clinging to me. No, room to negotiate? His whisper barely reached me. None. I shook my head, firm. I'm tired. I want the old days back, days when the world held only Silas. I know it's selfish, but I can't keep going. Taylor pinched the papers and reached for Hawthorne pen just as his phone rang. Joy's condition had crashed, she'd been rushed to the resuscitation bay. The voice on the line was loud, I heard every word. Eyes shot through me, and the scene from 4 years ago replayed in an instant. I grabbed Taylor's arm, tears exploding, screaming, get to St. Drive. He flung the contract away, yanked me outside, hollered for the driver, and we tore through the streets. The attending said the outlook was poor, we should prepare ourselves. I stayed numb. She'd been fine when we left that afternoon, how could this happen? Taylor phoned Stella, yet Dawn arrived before she sauntered in. When the lights over the bay snapped off, they wheeled Joy out, Hawthorne white shroud covering her small frame. She was gone, with no warning at all. But I felt an unexpected calm. Nothing worse could touch us now. The girl he had died to save had still been unable to grow up safe and whole. Taylor and I arranged the funeral. Stella showed up in oversized sunglasses, refusing to be recognized, unwilling to admit the dead child was hers. I, the outsider, carried the urn at the head of the procession. The sun blazed that day, yet I was ice inside. Perhaps I was born this way, unable to hold any light, any warmth, no matter how bright. When the last flower was laid, Taylor murmured beside me, "Let's go home." And I knew it was time to return to the home Silas and I had started in. I insisted, so Taylor signed. We walked into City Hall, filed the papers, and emerged to find Stella waiting. She had prepared an envelope of cash to thank me for raising joy. I declined. The person who truly deserves thanks lies beneath Hawthorne white marble plaque, but heroes rarely collect gratitude. Under their gaze I climbed into the cab, destination not the future, but the past. I unclasped the locket from my neck and brushed its glossy surface. The little wooden lid swings open, inside rests Hawthorne pinch of Silas's ashes. He had made me promise that if he died first I would scatter him over the open sea, never trap him underground. He hated the idea of cold, damp dirt. "The ocean is vast," he said, "he could ride the currents anywhere free." I obeyed, but I kept Hawthorne pinch. Just that much lets me breathe. Silas, I carried you through 4 winters of snowfall, yet I never got to walk hand in hand with you in it. So in the next life, don't break your promise, alright? Next life, be my hero alone, alright? Or maybe don't be Hawthorne hero at all, alright? After endless transfers I stand again where the dream began. The house is still vacant, too decrepit to rent, our memories remain intact. How foolish I was, I already owned the whole universe, yet I wandered off searching. Silas's room faces north, sunless, heavy with mildew. The odor slaps me as I step inside. Hawthorne crooked wall print hides Hawthorne corner of an envelope. I rise on tiptoe and slide it free, his handwriting on the front. "Little Vivian, when you find this, I bet we're married with kids, maybe even grandkids. Truth is, I'm already attached to this dump, it's our first home. I'll nag you into coming back so you can discover this little surprise yourself." Not much of Hawthorne's surprise, though, because I've wanted to say these things forever and just can't spit them out loud, so here goes. Little Vivian, I love you. Probably loved you since high school, didn't notice, did you? Doesn't matter if you love me back, we already have Hawthorne family, and you can't back out now. I'm dreaming of our wedding, of wandering the mountains hand in hand, of teasing our kids together, and it's almost here. You'll probably call me annoying, too bad, you're stuck. Our names prove we're fated, Vivian Silas. Since you've read this far, promise me one thing, no matter what happened in your past, I'll make you happy from now on. Let the shadows fade, you deserve Hawthorne brighter future. Tears splatter the paper and I can't help laughing, the fool knew I'd come back. I touch the locket and the tears keep falling. But Silas, Hawthorne future without you can't be happy. I wipe my face, fold the letter, and set it with the locket in Hawthorne's safe place. I won't be happy but I will live. I'll carry Silas's share, see every beauty the world can offer, watch for Vivian Silas, for calm seas and clear skies. Next life, let's meet Hawthorne little earlier.